Hello and welcome to the Handicapable Black Woman Throne Room. My view of humanity is a whole new tea. And okay, I need to talk deep into this court cam because I started off talking about the dating atmosphere and how I have dated some men with criminal past, and part of the reason, having a disability. A lot of men who don't have a disability and have their degree and have a lot of the attributes I have don't want me, don't desire me, don't think I'm good enough, or think that I'm going to slow them down or keep them behind. And even with dating apps, sometimes if I see an able-bodied guy and all of his pictures are of him hiking and traveling and doing so many things, I swipe left, especially like if he's liberal. If he's conservative, I slept. Like on Bumble, it's thank you Bumble for, I've said it before, but thank you so much for having that. I get to just pass over so many guys, and there's guys who don't put a political stance, or they don't say apolitical, not political, whatever. I swipe left on them too because I don't have time. Especially some of the men who just lie, and especially now in the climate, there are some. I've said this before. They will have two or three different profiles, acting like one's liberal, one's moderate, one's conservative because they're conservative, but they want to be able to have as many options as they want. And if they want to be able to sleep with a woman, they want to be able. It's like if a woman is making sure they swipe left on all conservative men, they want that option. And then there's the men who just don't answer that question and leave it blank because they think that, like, as long as they are conservative, they are MAGA, but if they can at least convince the woman. And I've had that happen where the guy didn't like, this is before the this is like near the end of the orange guy's first term, or it might have been like the first year and a half of Biden's term, around that time. But I and a lot of men, they were surprised that, like, even when I was younger, I would ask guys like a couple years after college, because at first I didn't really ask that question because I thought, okay, if they're dating a black woman, then, but then I realized, no, mm-mm. And even with Mr. No Heart, I asked this question, but I think he lied. He said he's Democrat, but oh, so many red flags to the point where, and he is such a liar. If he's changed his ways, but in my opinion, he is such a liar to the point where part of me thinks he lied about that in order to have access with me and everything like that. So be careful. Be careful. And a lot of men, well, yeah, I mean, he hasn't really committed too many. Like, I don't know how many times he's been in jail, but I know at least once because his mom told me how she picked up all of her kids from jail the first time. And so she didn't really tell me. And like some of the other the kids looked at me, or her kids, they're grown adults and everything in their 30s, 40s, whatever. But I just remember like the siblings were kind of looking at each other like, and that wasn't the only time. And it's just like, oh, all right, yeah, interesting. But with court cam, and you should be careful of not only incarcerated men, because also there's religious power that you also have to be careful of. I have to be careful of. And especially as a woman, as a black woman, and a black woman with a disability, I especially have to be careful. And that's one reason why, when it comes to like the Christian like demographic, no conservatives, no. And there are some democratic Christian men. It's not nearly as many, and I'm willing to wait. But at the same time, really, like, I know at like most of my family, they feel like I have to date or marry a Christian. I'm at the point where I want someone who has a good heart. And lately, majority of the men that I see that have a good heart aren't exactly Christian. I'm okay with that. I want a good man. I want someone who I'm gonna smile and laugh with and want to spend time with and go volunteer like a couple times a month or a few times a month, and then maybe like go out to eat, like you know how all the dating stuff goes. But I want someone who I enjoy their company, and it just doesn't feel like I have to marry him. I have to deal with him. He's a Christian. He's the only one I could find. It's like I have to settle because he meets this one certain criteria. Kind of like how when people vote. And I think that's another reason why the divorce rate is so high, is because people end up voting the same way as they get married, and then they end up in the situation we're in right now because they were only focused on that one thing. They had tunnel vision for love. They only loved that one asset, that one aspect, and it's to the point where it crumbles. And then they either wasted part of their life or now they have kids with this person, so now they're with this person permanently, because once you have kids, that you're with this person. So, but just don't think that I just don't want to drag men that's been in jail or prison. I know it sounds like I am, but I'm just saying, if you see the red flags, if you see the pattern, if you see any hint of them repeating those same mistakes, don't get caught up in it, because you might be risking your own freedom, your own like opportunity to dream and absorb the fullness of life. We only have one life, and so that's one reason why I'm kind of harping on this, because the amount of times where I tried to give these men a second chance, and the next thing I know, some of them, because I'm black, tried to get me in trouble on purpose. So then I was going to be stuck in the same situation, even though I didn't do anything wrong, but they in fact did something wrong. But they were going to try to blame it on me, because even back to that one ex with a police officer who did not want to arrest the guy because he's a good white man, the way he was looking at me when I got out the car, and it's like, even he was asking me really odd questions, stereotyping me. Oh, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I talk all about the different police situations, and yeah, go catch up, go catch up. And then you have the criminals who literally hit on the judge on like this exact like, and how come every single like court cam episode has at least one Michigan situation in there. At least one Michigan. Flint, Michigan, Grand Rapids, Detroit, is East Lansing. I'm trying to think of, there's a couple others where it's like, oh dang, okay, this one too. I want to say Flint because they even had that really big court case where that young lady threw water and lime on her father. And I'm still, it's like that case that aggravated me. Mhm. Because sometimes, like the white female privilege, white people, especially white women, want to say they don't have privilege. But then another thing that I've noticed with some of the court cams is the difference with sentencing and everything. And sometimes I just feel like it just looks like they get more compassion, and they're like, oh, well, she's going to do better in her life. She's going to be a great citizen. She threw lime and water on her father because he didn't take her to get her hair. And I know her 18th birthday, big day, things like, but it's like, and part of me is just like, so how did she, they say she didn't know and things like that, but so she didn't know, but she was able to do it. And yeah, anyways, like while looking at some of the emotions and looking at the after effects, and there was one guy who was driving, like actually he was in the courthouse, and then he decided, he was looking around and he's like, oh, no one's watching me. He ran out the courthouse and they're chasing him. And then he's coming back, and so they think, oh, okay, we think we got him back. But then as soon as his girlfriend was visible, he was like, nah, come. And so then they both run into the vehicle, and then they end up hitting another vehicle, and they had to use the jaws to get the girlfriend out. And then people were harmed in the other vehicle and stuff. So then his 30 days in jail, like, this guy was upset that he might have to go to jail for 30 days, but that 30 days turned into years. 30 days turned into years. A minor mistake that maybe at one point might be expunged, and you might not have to tell this to potential jobs, or it might be something where it was like, okay, it was a minor mistake. You'll get over it. You have the rest of your life. Like 30 days. But now, years. And then there's, but yeah, oh yeah, back to the guy who, there was a guy from somewhere in Michigan who was hitting on the judge. And you know what? I'll admit, she was a hottie. Like, when I was like, okay, I was like, okay, girl, go Miss Judge. It's like, snap, snap. Okay, you're making sure you came slaying at your job today. So it's like, and I think that's one reason why some guys are shocked with me, because I'm not the jealous type. Because, and yes, remember, my episodes are as messy as my life. But I think that's one reason why Mr. No Heart, he couldn't stand me, because when men would come up to me and compliment me or whatever, he wouldn't talk to me. He would ignore me. And but at the same time, like, when we first met, we were just friends, and so we would still both date or whatever. One reason, because, like, yeah, he's in the middle of the divorce, so part of me was just like, he's going through like a broken heart and some mental things, because he said some things where I'm like, I hope you don't mean that, and I don't think you need to be in a relationship if you're gonna say some of these things, and I'm gonna have an episode on some of those things too. But yeah, I'm not the jealous type whatsoever. So when women would even come up to him, like, I remember there was one time where he was like freshly shaved, had the outfit, to put together, and a young lady like kind of said something, and it's like, I think he was so mad that I wasn't jealous. And part of me was just like, a beautiful lady came and like, she's proving that I have good taste. So, and I was like, he's a numbskull, awful, terrible, selfish human being, but it's like, yeah, he looked good, so. But anyway, it's like, so that's one reason why, like, yes, like, I like, oh, and with the young lady that gave him the compliment, she was absolutely beautiful, and I let her know, and I think she was surprised as well, like, and I think that's one reason why, if women complimented him and then I complimented her, they're just like, oh, she's not the jealous type. That's not as fun. And I will tell some of the strip club stories. Like, I haven't been to many, but yeah, there's a couple stories that I have or whatever. But I remember our manager was kind of nervous to let me in because I'm curvy or whatever. And like, well, at first he thought I was coming into audition. I'm like, no, no. And so then he was nervous because he was like, you're curvier than I think he was like half my girls or whatever. But then I was leaving out, and he offered me a job, and I'm like, no. Especially, I'm like, with my disability, should I be on that floor? Nah, I was like, and I'm like, and my big butt, like, no. I was like, men will pay me to keep it on. You're funny. You're sweet. You're so kind, but you're funny. Anyway, so with the guy that was hitting on the judge, I thought that was kind of adorable and sweet. And I'm not gonna lie, it's like, he was kind of adorable. I was just like, see, if you didn't meet the judge this way, if you could have met her at a bar, I'm like, she a little older, but that means she knows exactly what she likes. And I was like, you might have had a chance, because I mean, even like the way he hit on her, it's like, she kind of had a little smile. She was just like, oh, okay. It's like, I mean, she controlled the room. She controlled the room while accepting the compliment. And it was because the way he, like, this goes back to catcalling. He did it in a respectful way, in a way that made her smile, a way that he put some charm and some funny into it. And because he even admitted, like, yeah, it's like, it's not the time or the place. And it was just like, nope, it certainly is not. So, but it was just the, it's a way you do it. And it's like, till this day, my ex would probably, like, ah, I will never forget the day where he told me all women like being catcalled. It doesn't matter, they like it. And go watch. I did an episode about catcalling because there was one guy who, yeah, just watched the episode. It was a couple of days ago. It should be pretty easy to. Oh, actually, yeah, I posted that one. It's a couple of days ago. So, but with a lot of these guys and their emotions, sometimes I just wonder, is it ain't like, why, either why are they so angry, or are they confused, or is it because they give up on life, because maybe they did not get enough either love or compassion, or something within themselves, or something that feels empty. And that's one reason why I encourage mental health as much as possible. And like, one way for me, with the trauma that I've went through, with my undiagnosis and everything of my disability, creating this channel helps me a lot, because I'm diving in and researching and looking things up and going down memory lane. Sometimes it's very toxic. Sometimes it's so toxic to the point where I get emotional, because remembering things from my past while trying to create episodes that dive deep into either what makes a villain, or with dating nightmares and the awful, terrible, ignorant, racist, bigoted, like MAGA supporting trolls that write me, is sometimes I try to think about why I am single, or why I do think this way, and then going through those messages, it's, yeah, it does affect. But creating those episodes also helps me, because while I'm observing and thinking and like tearing it apart to put it together, I'm finding out more about myself, either areas where I'm strong at or weak at, and or working on, and or goals and dreams. And I feel like a lot of the men who ended up either addiction, like a lot of people end up addicted on something because they're trying to escape their reality, or they're trying to escape something, or because it feels better than their real life. And I never want to get to that point where I always need to escape my real life. We only have one life, and it's like, I feel like, try to make it the best that you can. It might, trust me, oof. The days that I could not walk, the days that I was in bed all day crying in pain, and having then to wait almost 2 months in order to have surgery. And then even after the surgery, they said, oh, something's still wrong. And then, yeah, so when it comes to pain and the years prior of everyone blaming me, trust me, I know pain, I know suffering, but at the same time, I know and understand how, in order to escape it, sometimes you got to create your own key. Sometimes you have to create your own key. It sucks. Some people have the privilege, especially like a lot of these celebrities, where the parents just hand their kids the key, and they're just like, okay, or they even open the door for them, and they create another door and pat, like, oh, like, look at the Kardashian kids, look at Beyonce Knowles' kid, like a lot of the like, they've got it. They've got it. And then even people don't want me to go back down, you know, history lane, but old money. Where did old money come from? A lot of it came from slavery. When people tell me they don't know about white privilege, yeah, it's like if you don't really know the roots of the slave movement and the after effects of it, and then Black Wall Street, and then the 15 drowned cities in America, and then also the Cancer Belt of America, and just like there's so many other, and then the pipeline of the prisons, and how like over like 3 times as many black men are incarcerated for like special candy crimes than Caucasians, but the same amount of Caucasian people like consume special candy than all other nationalities. So why the imbalance? And then also the incarceration numbers, like jail and prison time. How come African Americans get so much? And that's one reason why I mentioned that white girl privilege earlier, because when it's a black man or a black woman, the amount of years that they get compared to their white counterparts for the same crime. I should do it. Like I keep saying, I should do an episode, but you know what? Whatever episodes I get to, because I right now I have a list of over 500. But at least that helps me know that I will not stop anytime soon. Yay! That will give me over a year and a half more material. But when it comes to just while watching the court cam, and when it comes to the emotional things, mental health I think is such a big issue. And I kind of, part of me just wonders, especially now with what's going on within our system and the law, like we're losing of due process. I hope the courts, I hope the judges are able to fight for this, because it's getting a little scary out there. And at the same time, with the prison system, and like sometimes I get a little jealous when I'm finding out people are getting their bachelor's and masters for free, especially their masters for free. And I'm just, I was like, I'm gonna be paying mine till probably the day I pat. Like, yeah, oh, but at the same time, it gives them. Part of me hopes that education will help give them enough power to help them move through their mental health in order to prosper, in order to make their lives better, and hopefully make sure they don't turn back to the dark side of where they were going. So there's ups and downs and everything. So, but while watching it, and part of me just feels like maybe I need to look some of these up to, so I can do hardcore episodes on some of them. But when I see some and they're like, oh, this is a returning one, I'm like, oh no, they were here last season, or they were there a few months ago. And then you're seeing that they're back, and it's sad. It's sad, like seeing them come back to the court cams, because it's not like People's Courts. It's not like some of the other court channels and everything, because some of them are fake, some of them are real, some of them are fake. But when you're watching these, and also when there's some of them are so slick. And this is another reason why I say be careful if you're going to date. Be careful if you're going to date someone with a criminal record, because some of them are so slick. And once you get into jail and prison, I remember one of the Zacks, or the Zack from a different state, not the Michigan one, but the other one. He was telling me how once he got incarcerated, he started learning, because he was learning from the other criminals. So be careful. Like once they go to jail and prison, they start learning how to be more slick. And so even if they don't get back into the crime, they might learn how to cheat better. They might learn how to like take advantage better, or if they were going to harm you. So be careful. Be careful. Because watching some of these episodes, and it's like some of these men have never committed a crime in their life, and some of these men, they're so hungry for power. I it's around season 7. I want to say 18, 19, or 20, something like that. But there was this Caucasian man. Him and his wife were divorcing, and he lives in one house, she lives in the other. They have 3 or 4 kids. He put the kids to bed at his house, and then after they were asleep, he got into the car, drove to her house, broke into a window, and eliminated her. Yeah. And sometimes I just wonder, it's like, okay, if you've been to jail or prison, or if you're thinking of doing, so, like, if you're about to break up with somebody and you're that mad, you're that angry, no, like, anger management, call a friend. Like, maybe I need to do a full episode on, like, and this, I haven't been in this situation, but part of me is just like, if I can even try to figure out a way to make to help people not get themselves into that situation, because there will always hopefully be someone else for you. You're talking to somebody who I've basically given up on dating because, like, with my disability, no one wants me, and I get it. I broke up with my ex happily because I'd rather be, like, sometimes it's better to be happy and alone than always hungry for someone to obtain love from, because sometimes it's not authentic, sometimes it's not the best, sometimes it's settling love. You don't want settling love. And if it's not working out and you're divorcing, what, and especially if you have kids, you have to think about your kids, because now you're going to interfere with their future, and now they're not, like, they're losing one family member in that family member's love, but now they're going to lose both, because now, yeah, you're caught, you're in prison. And I think those kids ended up with the wife's family members, but now they have to live their life without both parents, and now they have to work on forgiveness to forgive the father. But then it's like, I've watched quite a few cases where it's like, usually, like, there, I think there might have been 1 or 2 times where it was a woman, but it's like, oh yeah, on that same channel that's similar to Lifetime, oh, I've seen, like, the women hire men to do, those are some interesting stories. But it's really crazy how on court cam, how many times I have seen that the women, or like, the women get eliminated and harmed by the man because of power, because they're losing them. And it reminds me of Mr. No Heart, because I remember when I thought it was just because he was getting a divorce, he was hurt and emotional and he felt powerless. But I will never forget when he told me that he loves when he can make people's lives as miserable as possible. And I just remember saying, you don't mean that. You don't mean that. Because I thought it was out of pain. But then while dating him and over the years, I realized, no, he's serious. He is serious. Because even when I needed him the most, my mother's funeral, my major surgery, all of the tests that I needed to try to get diagnosed, he never. But I think he loved that because it was making my life more, like, worse and miserable. And even when I broke up with him, he was like, am I that bad? Excuse me? Perdone me? Excuse what? So be careful with your heart. Be careful with your heart. And I'm going to be talking more about the court cam, but I don't know, it's just, with my dating life and watching some of these episodes, I have witnessed some of the, like, the things that these guys are pulling. I'm like, yep, makes sense. And oh, but there's season 7, episode 28. Oh, there's one. He's so pretty. I can't even fake it. He's so pretty. But yeah, you got to be careful of the pretty ones. This is the Handicapable Black Woman Throne Room. I am a woman, I am of color, and I am handicapable. But most importantly, I am human, and you're human too.